Hey guys, AJ here, back with another one. So this is going to be the end to divorce week, and today we got a treat for you guys. We got a panel of a couple of guys that I know that are either in the middle of the divorce process or have been through it. So we're going to kind of have a round robin style discussion about divorce and marriage and a couple other topics. So I haven't been through divorce, but my friends here have. So let's just jump into it. I have some questions, but let's just do some introductions first. I'm gonna pull up the questions. So say hi, everyone, while I pull these questions up.
Hey, how's it going?
What's going on, guys? Another day, you know?
Another day, another 15 cents, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, inflation.
Yeah. All right, everyone. So once again, my name is AJ. This is my rants and reactions channel. I talk about red pill stuff, politics, excess, etc., and just go off on the bullshit. So I guess we're gonna start out on where are you from? Whoever feels free to start the answer, just answer. So where are
I'll
you
start.
from?
I'll start. I'm Doug in PA, from Washington State in the United States. For those who are listening outside the United States, fairly liberal area. Um, from the Seattle area. Um, Grew up there until I was 24. And then went to college in Vegas, and then did a graduate degree back in Seattle. That's where the MPA comes from. So
Hmm, nice. I feel like having Vegas as like a college. I feel like you might have had some pretty interesting times. I feel like that'd be pretty
dude,
fun.
yeah, that
Yeah.
that'll be a
Hoes.
whole different phone call, dude. That'll be a whole
Oh,
that'll be a
night
whole
night.
different call, my
Hoes.
that'll be a whole different call, my friend.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel you. I feel you. Yeah, man. It's Kane again. Born in Ethiopia. After that, flew out. Live in Maryland. Ever since, pretty much stayed right here. Uh, yeah.
Cool, cool, cool. So just real fast, after you told us where you're from, just tell my listeners kind of about yourself. Like what are you into currently? Just some of the stuff you do on a weekly, daily basis.
I'll start. I run, I cycle. I'm a sci-fi nerd. Uh, you know, uh, watch sports. Listen to a lot of YouTube red pill content, kind of like yours, AJ. That's how I came across your content. I saw your Stacey Abrams video, and I'm in a complete agreement with you on Stacey Abrams. So good job on that.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that.
Yeah. So I'm a professional. Work for the federal government, so I got to keep things a little straight laced. My life is pretty. I like it. A lot of the women in the modern dating market would consider me boring, but I'm winning, so that's all I care about.
That's
Yes,
all.
sir.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Yes,
So,
sir. Yeah, man. For me, I'm a firefighter EMT. Somewhere in Maryland. And I mean, I like pretty basic shit, man. Like, I lift. Um, I enjoy like bodybuilding and a little bit of powerlifting too. Uh, Other than that, I mean, hey, you know, that's basically it. Entertain the ladies every now and then. You know what I mean? Chill, hang out with the
getting
boys,
it
drink
in,
a little
getting
bit.
that
Yes, sir.
cardio in the bedroom. You know what I'm saying?
Just got done with some cardio. Matter of fact, you know.
Uh, all right. So next question: are you currently married or divorced? And whoever wants to go first can go first.
I can start. I'm divorced. I got married in 2000, December 1st of 2011. Got officially divorced May 15th of 2016. So I am divorced, but I was with my ex for 1 year, and we were married for four. No, we were together 5 years. Together for 5 years, but married for four.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah. I'm actually in the process of being divorced. I would like nothing more than for it to be expedited. Because I'm trying to get the fuck away from that bitch. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was well, I guess I technically still am married for about 2.5 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So how did you meet your spouse or soon to be ex-spouse or ex-spouse?
So I met my significant other, well, my ex significant other online. I was living in Texas at the time. Then I met her online. She was living in Virginia, and we we talked for a little bit, called for a little bit and everything, and then I ended up taking a job close by where she was, and then we ended up meeting in person, and around that time, because this was 12 years ago now, I was like, oh, it's a sign,
Mhm.
of all the places I could get a new job, it's only like an hour away from her. We must have, it must have been meant to be. You know how guys young and dumb around beautiful women
Oh
are.
yeah. Oh yeah.
So that's how we
Absolutely.
met. We actually met online.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. Because like I met mine online too, and it was basically like that, like she also worked in Virginia, which is funny. She worked for like an airline, and she'd fly out of DCA. Um, and after like I met her online and everything, she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm new to the area and everything," and I'm like, "Okay, that's pretty cool. I can show you around, kind of stuff." And yeah, it was like pretty casual at first, man. Like I thought it was gonna be like a quick, like like a hookup kind of thing, and then like just brush it, away type of thing, like or like a little summer fling. But
Hmm.
like it just developed, and I was not looking for anything at the time too, which is crazy. And yeah,
Basically, Kane, you've been had, you've
I
been
that's it.
took, you've
No, that's
been
right.
hoodwinked, you've been
Yeah,
Yeah.
bamboozled,
How,
led
absolutely.
astray,
yeah.
run
How
amok.
long? How long were you
It,
guys together before you got married, King?
about like about 2 years, something like that.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Um.
man, it's crazy too because like the way it works, man, I'm telling you, like when you're in that dating phase, everything seems so perfect. It's all like she's all respectful and
Mhm.
all like very, very not so modern woman kind of like
Yeah.
vibes, and that's how I'm telling you, that's how they get you. And then
Well,
after
and
that,
then,
you live together, and
but
she's like,
also,
oh, cool, I can do whatever the fuck I want. And then after
Now,
that, that's when it goes
Can you
downhill.
explain because you had said that you were Ethiopian, so you come from a patriarchal, strong man frame culture. So can you kind of like explain because you usually have like that radar against modern women culturally. So can you like
Absolutely.
explain like how did she get through that radar? Do you think?
So this is what I'm hypothesizing right here. Okay, so like for me,
Get out
if
the
I'm
laser
dating a
pointer.
girl, absolutely. So like I have like these basically like small like red flags or like things that I pick up on easily, right? So I'm pretty observant when it comes to like anything, whether it's physical or like conversational, anything like that. I can pick up on very small things that might mean something different or might mean something bigger or might lead to something bigger. Uh, so basically, while we were dating, she would always be very like, kind of like reserved, which is good. Like shy, not really shy, but like not like, like when you see on TikTok and all this shit, like with these chicks like just screaming and hey, like all that like shit, like all the time in public kind of thing, or
Mhm.
like yeah, like acting very belligerent in public. Um, it's okay to do that kind of stuff, when you're at home or you're at a friend's house or stuff like that, like start twerking or whatever they start doing. But like she was very, very traditional kind. You know what I mean? Like she would
Okay.
dress traditional, everything would be normal. She's not walking out in like lingerie and like titties out. You know what I'm saying? Like all
And
over the
was she
place.
Ethiopian?
No, she was actually black.
Oh,
So
like
like yeah,
American black.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like
like
Ados
American
black.
black. Yep, yep,
Ah.
yep. So I was kind of like, I was entertaining it, but I was still looking at those signs, shouldn't date a woman who like calls them a bitch, you know what I'm saying? Or like shit
Mm,
like that. Like, you know how like when girls talk to their girlfriends and they're like, bitch, what? Like that shit like that. If a
yeah, yeah,
woman
yeah.
calls you that, that is not that's probably a red flag in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
Um, because I mean, as soon as you say it, you know what happens. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Uh,
yep, yep.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. So, but yeah, man, like she slid under all that radar, and she was like, she would voluntarily like try to pay for bills or schedule like, dates and shit like that. And I was like, okay, she's being proactive. She's, very humble. And she wasn't materialistic. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
she's not like, oh, you got to buy me a purse, or, oh, can you get me like this shirt? Stuff like that. Like, she's very non-materialistic. So I guess that's what made it kind of slip under my radar at first. But like I said, after we started living together and stuff like that, it completely, all of that got thrown out the window. Like, I saw, you really see who the person is when you start living together for a while.
Yeah, facts.
Because
Absolute facts.
I could I could piggyback off that. My uh, my ex was Cameroonian, and she'd been in the country for about a year,
Mhm.
a little over a year, and was a student. And uh, I hit 30, and I was, I know Kevin Samuels and a lot of other people say when a man's ready to get married, he's ready to get married. I was just ready. I was like, hey, I'm 30 years old. I met this girl. She's good. Let's make it happen. You know what I'm saying? And then it's funny because the best parts about something and the worst part about something are usually the same thing. It just depends on the context.
That's
I was thinking
facts
to
too.
myself,
Yep.
as a man, I'm taking this risk, but I'm a man. You know what I'm saying? Some
Right.
of the greatest achievements in mankind were men saying, "F the risk, I'm just gonna do it." You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
and so, but it's that same thing that'll make you walk off a cliff into a marriage. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Facts.
Yeah.
So,
Facts.
um, and so, I, she was traditional when I first met her, but had modern woman goals.
Okay.
And I let her go along that modern woman goal. Like the more years she spent in university, the more she went the other way.
Yeah.
And then as a man, you don't have what is the ultimate power as a man in relationships and dating and even in marriage is being able to, well, in relationships and interactions with the opposite sex, is being able to walk away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's facts.
you really start seeing it um, when they realize that you just can't walk away. That's when the problem starts.
Yep.
For me, it was the school part. It was kind of getting her around other women who had kind of a leftist feminist ideology, and all of a sudden she's talking to you. I met some of her friends, and then she's talking like some of her friends, and starts
Mm-hmm.
talking to me the way that her friends talk to their man. And I'm like, whoa, where's
Mm-hmm.
this coming
Yep.
from?
Yep.
And what's about it is once you're married, you can't really do anything about it
No, you can't. You
because you
can't
can't
exactly
just
just walk
walk
away.
away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
exactly.
Yep. Yep.
You're
Wow.
locked in, you're
So,
trapped. And
Wow.
it's crazy because it's crazy you say that, by the way, because like I feel, so this might sound a little fucked up, but I feel like if a woman is in a relationship, she should not be interacting or like very close friends with single women.
With single women,
And this is
exactly.
this is this is
Exactly.
why I'm
Yep.
saying that. Like, I mean, okay, so for guys, right? Like, if I'm in a relationship, I could be friends with as many single dudes as possible. Like, it doesn't matter, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
they won't be able to influence me to change the way I behave
And
based, you know what I mean? Like,
but we're
it does
also
not work. We
we're
have set
also
minds.
we're also cost benefit people. So guys will be like, all right, my friends are gonna go out to some crazy kegger or some crazy club, and you can be
Right.
like, you know what, guys, the wife's cooking a dinner at home. I'm just gonna go because it's
Yeah, it's
like,
not worth
is
it.
it worth the craziness with my friends? Yes, fine, but like my relationship and the woman that I'm with
Absolutely.
is worth more than
Absolutely.
that. Whereas women, they're so influenced by their friends, and this isn't just in relationships. This is one friend will want to wear one type of clothes, and all of them will wear one type of clothes. They'll see one dance that Cardi B does, and they all do it. Women,
Yep.
all men are not subject to all the same conditioning that women are. So you'll have
Yep.
one friend group who one of them's married, and then all of them want to do girls trips, or all of them
yeah.
want to do all
Exactly.
this
It's
bullshit.
Exactly.
sad
And
because
yeah,
if if you compare brotherhood to sisterhood, the current air quotes the current sisterhood has a lot more toxic traits in it than the
Oh my
current idea
god.
of
Yeah,
brotherhood.
but
You know what I'm
even
saying?
Absolutely.
in the most basic sense, Kane, you're ex-military, so how many military buddies do you see that you talk to like once in a while? You guys don't see each other, but you're cool. Like you haven't talked to your army or your marine buddy in, you know, 18 months.
Years.
He's like, hey, what's up, man? How you doing? You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? Like,
Absolutely.
like that's the way men are, you know?
Absolutely. I talked to one of my homies that I was stationed in California with like last or like 2 months ago. I haven't seen him in 3 years, and we already hit it off. You know what I'm saying? Like we just
Yeah.
talked for maybe an hour, and we just caught up to everything, and we're cool, you know. But I feel like with women, man, like their friend groups are toxic as hell. Like
Yep.
Doug said, like they'll and it's crazy because for guys, they do the most. Will be toxic in the most underlying way possible. You know,
Yeah,
like if they
they'll
see
have
that
all
their
of their
friend is in a
enemies.
happy, absolutely. If
Yeah.
they see that their friend is happy in a relationship or in a marriage, they'll act all nice in front of them. And then from experience, mind you, they'll go and talk shit about their partner when their partner is not there. You know, they'll
Yeah.
be like, oh, well, could you believe that Kane was looking at this girl when we were hanging out and stuff like that? Like they'll start planting seeds and they find satisfaction in seeing the relationship break apart or like whatever they are jealous of, whatever they don't have that the other woman has, they want her to be in the same level as her. So
Yikes.
they will break each other down.
Absolute facts, man. That's true. So it's kind of the next question here is how excuse me. So how did you get along with your spouse or ex-spouse's family?
Yeah, I can start. So, my ex's family was in a whole different country. I met them a couple different times, and they were nice. They spoke French. I don't speak French, so it was a whole lot of smiling, nodding. They're from a West African country, so a lot of a lot of Africans give you a lot of respect if you're American, and
Yeah.
especially when I dispelled all the BS that you know. Do you rap? No. Do you play
Yep.
basketball? No.
No.
Do you
Are you in a gang?
yeah, you speak such proper English. Are you sure you're from the United States? You sound British. I'm like, no, I'm
Yeah.
from the United States. But then it was kind of on both sides. Like I learned a lot about West African culture. And I just felt a lot of my ignorance too. But so generally, I got along with their family when I went over there, or when they came over here.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. So my ex-spouse's family actually lives in North Carolina. They lived in South Carolina when I first met them, but um no, man, like we pretty much kicked it off. She came from a single mother household. Um and her mom, I'm telling you, like she is a very, very traditional woman. And I feel like that's why we kicked it off so well. She's very wise. Like she has experience, like, you know what I mean? Like she has experience in life in general. Uh, and she's basically still like a second mother to me. Like I still call her every now and then. You know, I keep her updated on my life and everything. And she gives me some really good, unbiased advice, whether I like it or not. She'll try to lead me in the right way. Um, Her siblings are they're a little immature with their actions. That I try to like. I mean, don't get me wrong. I still love them and everything. It's just I try to distance myself a little bit away from them so that I don't get involved in that kind of stuff because I've been involved with them a little bit in
Mhm.
the past, and it has definitely not been in a positive light for my life. Uh, so yeah, I mean, in terms of my spouse's family, I think we get along really well, surprisingly,
Okay.
even now.
Okay. So let's kind of jump into this and say segue in. So the next two questions we can actually combine them. And I want to just ask, so tell me about your marriage and what led to your divorce.
Uh, I can. I'll start with this one. So, um, once again, we knew each other for a short amount of time, and I was like, "Hey, let's get married." She was absolutely beautiful. from a different culture. I kind of have this thing with like Black culture, and so I really enjoy being around people of other cultures. And that was really alluring with her. She was tall, she was pretty, she's from a different culture. She was traditional, um, uh, and so we got married, and the first couple of years were great. There were a couple red flags. She didn't get along with my family. I have a couple of, I have a brother and a sister, and if I look back on it now, they saw red flags that I didn't see, and they tried to tell me, but I didn't listen.
Yep.
And it's funny. I come from a I told you so family, but they're very tactful about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When I was 26 years old, I graduated college. I moved back home, and I told my mom and dad. My mom and dad said, "I told you so." When I told them about some of the tribulations I went through in college, and that was the same thing. My brother and sister were there for me when I got divorced, and they got to say their "I told you so," but they were right. You know what I'm saying? You got to take ownership and take it like a man sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But the first 3 years were just fantastic. Like the first year we knew each other, the first 2 years of our marriage were just fantastic. I wouldn't trade those for the world. So from 2011 to 2013, no, to 2014, I wouldn't trade it for the world. It was fantastic. I got people that. It's funny when women try to talk about, because a lot of women in the current dating market, if they don't understand that love is conditional. You know what I'm saying? And if you're smart, you put conditions on all relationships except for maybe the ones that you have with your children. I don't have any children, so I don't know. But a lot of us men, we know what it's like to try to love unconditionally. And one of the biggest problems with the current, so I know what that's like to try to love my ex-wife unconditionally. You know what I'm saying? And so one of the hardest parts about the current dating market is that I hear women who've never had a serious relationship or never been married talking about that kind of love and wanting that kind of love when they have no idea. And I do. You know what I'm saying? And
you got kicked in the balls for it too.
100%. So what I started off pretty low with the federal government, and before we got married, I told her I wanted to move all the way up. So I was going to have to move around, do all these different things, and make these different kinds of sacrifices. And I asked her if that was okay. This is the night before we got married. She said sure, and she wanted to be a physician assistant. And she said, "Well, I'm going to spend the next like 6 years in school. Are you okay with that?" I said, "Yeah, sure." And so the whole time we were together, we were like working on that. What led to my divorce? My ex is one of the most beautiful women you're ever going to see. But she was a princess, and she was high maintenance, man. And it got to the point, and it's funny because I look back on it now, but it was it's like there was a Tom and Jerry cartoon where like Tom was doing everything he could to like make money to buy a ring for this like girl cat, and he was trying to compete with this. He's trying to compete.
That's old school.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly which clip you're talking about too.
Yeah. And and that was me. I fell out of my masculine frame when we moved from the East Coast to the West Coast, and I completely fell out of my masculine flame. Though that was my fault, and I truly put myself in a position where I tried everything I could to make her life better because it was going to make our life better. One thing I can tell you, anyone listening to this, when men win, we all win. When women win, she wins.
Damn.
And so I was doing everything
that's deep.
I could. Yeah. And so
but it's true, and it's so against what's going on today, this misandry type of environment we're in right now.
Yeah. And I agree. And so
Wow.
I, I was in. We were on the West Coast, and we already started having problems. And once again, she she started going to school in the West Coast at a party school. And once again, that college thing, man, like once she started going to school and getting deep into school and stuff, and it just it completely started to change. And also with the money issue. So I was you know uh I was just constantly uh you know when I was in college, you I kept it cheap so I could do the work for it to pay off later. And she was
Mm-hmm.
the complete opposite. And at the
Mm-hmm.
time, I was looking at it like she was making me feel like I was inadequate. And and that was a simp move on my part because I should have maintained my masculine frame, but I didn't. So my marriage truly ended when I was with the federal government. I took a job initially where we moved, and then I took a promotion 4 hours south in like a different state, and I was driving back and forth once a week because I had a room in a different city, and then I was like I took a job in DC, a government job, and I was flying back and forth every 3 months to be with her. And one time, her family flew in from her home country. They were there for like a month, so I took 2 weeks off, and I was like, "Well, I'll fly back there. I'll entertain her family because we have been long distance for about 9 months, almost a year." And she, I found out that she was living the college life behind my back.
Mm.
And then a couple of my friends, because she was going to the same school I went to, and I had a couple friends who were still in the area. And once I found out what I found out, women talk about their intuition. Well, men have an intuition too. You know what I'm saying? It's just you women's looks and peace leave can mask that into intuition. But once that's out of the way, we have a pretty good intuition. So anyway, I did a trip back there. I found out what I found out, and she made it easy for me. She was messing around behind my back. She was spending a bunch of money we didn't have, and I let it get completely away from me. And when I
So,
looked at what at what not
so you
one
caught her cheating on you, basically, to make
hundred
a long
percent
story short. Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
okay, if someone has an Apple ID, it's on their phone, it's on their iPad too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's on their watch and their iPad. So for me, we're to the point where we trust each other so much that she had the password to my phone, I had the password to hers.
Huh. And
And
her
then
dumbass forgot that?
well, no,
Damn.
God damn.
uh, I, I found it on her iPad. And
Okay.
and then I asked her, and she did the typical gaslighting. You're long distance. I need attention, and
Oh
you're
my
not here.
god.
Blah blah whatever. And
Oh,
so,
shut up.
and I was paying all the bills. I was paying for a room in DC, and then I was paying all the bills back where we were too. She didn't have to lift a finger. And once again, so uh, I remember I found out what I found out, and the plane ride back to DC was one of the longest. It was weird because it was like the longest, shortest plane ride of my life. Like I I'm a talker on the plane, so most of the time, sorry everyone listening to this,
So
but just real quick, and I put my head between my hands, and it's funny. I went all the way back to like the first time I met her, and I kind of did and just went through the whole timeline in my head. It was weird because like I kind of it felt like I rose up out of my body and kind of looked around like, Doug, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? And
Yep.
so when I got off the plane, I was just done. I was done with it. And she made it real easy. I had distance between us, I found out what I found out. I found out about the money she's putting and stuff, and I just realized I got to get away from this girl. And so my divorce actually, um, I I petitioned with the court in our old state that we were in, and I said, hey, I was making significantly more money than her. I was like, I don't want to get lawyers involved because I don't want to pay you alimony. She said, hey, we'll just pay off my debt and I'll sign whatever you want. I said, your debt? What are you talking about? She took out a bunch of credit cards in our names that I didn't know about.
God damn.
So
Wow.
because in the condo that we were living in, we had this beautiful walk-in closet, like literally, and I took my stuff with me to Vegas, and about half the closet was empty. And as I was coming back every 90 days or every 4 months, there's more stuff in the closet. And I'm like, but you assume the best with your wife. And so I said, sure, okay, just let me have it, but just sign whatever. And so I called the credit card companies and I took her name off the debt, and she signed the documents, and I paid all that debt back. It was a little under $20,000.
God damn.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus.
Yep.
That's fucked up, man.
$20,000.
God
Yep.
damn.
Yep.
That's
So-
insane.
Shit. Well, Ken, you want to follow that?
I mean,
woo.
that's rough, but no, I commend you though, man, because like you said, you were in a pretty good position. You found out what you found out, which gives you kind of like that closure that you needed. You also had that distance, so like you don't have to constantly see things that remind you of her, right? Which is good. I feel like that's the best way right there to get over someone, especially if they give you a reason like that. Yeah, I would immediately, And I mean, when I met my ex, I was pretty 100% blue pill. I was thinking, okay, this is a beautiful woman. She's very attractive. She's knowledgeable. Like, like the whole blue pill thing. Like, I have to treat her like a queen. I have to do whatever I can to make her happy and all this shit.
So that happy
Yep.
wife, happy life bullshit. basically.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. That happy life, happy wife, happy life bullshit. Yep. So like, I mean, while we were dating, like I said, everything was perfect, man. It was picture perfect. I was living the dream. I'd go to work. At the time, I wasn't making like a lot of money, or a substantial amount of money, but it was okay because like she would also make pretty good money too, and we would be able to split things, and it wouldn't cause a problem. Uh, and like we were doing pretty well and everything. And then after we moved in together, we got an apartment. um it was a nice little 2-bedroom apartment, man. And it was pretty nice. We got all our furniture. Everything was looking so nice, man. Like I'd go to work, and she wouldn't work every single day, like she's a flight attendant, so she would fly for like 4 days and then come back for like a week, so meanwhile I had like a 9 to 5 construction job. So I'd leave early in the morning, like before the sun rises, and then I'd come back at like 4 p.m. or 5 p.m., something like that. Uh, and I would like when we first started living together, man, it was perfect. I'd go, like if she's not at work and she's at home all day, I'd come back from work. She'd already be cooking. Like it was like the picture perfect traditional life,
Mhm.
Dinner would be ready. I'd come in, shower up, we'd eat dinner, watch a movie, very traditional, like maybe have a glass of wine, go to sleep, repeat, right? Um, and like we would still do date nights and stuff like that, and it was perfect, man. But then things started getting like out of hand after like she started getting comfortable. um and she wouldn't, like now her trips would be a little bit longer. And like when I'd come home, she wouldn't be doing anything. Like she literally for until 4 p.m. has not even gotten up out of bed if it wasn't just to use the bathroom.
Damn.
Her clothes would be all over the floor in the bedroom, man. Like at one point, she would the kitchen would be an entire mess. I'd come home from work and all the stuff she cooked, like I cook, you know what I mean? Like I'm pretty self-sustaining. I don't need a woman to cook for me. I can cook for myself.
And you are
But
Ethiopian, so
absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's like, it's a must, So like, it I when I cook, I like to clean behind myself as I'm cooking, so there's not a lot of. First of all, I don't like mess. I'm kind of OCD. Um, Second of all, it's just sanitary, you know, and easier to work around if your area is clean. Um, I came home from work one day, I remember, and I was so infuriated I didn't even touch it. But there was like chicken breast trimmings on the counter, not even like on a plate or a cutting board, on the counter.
Ugh.
Exactly. Like there's flour all over the place, on the floor, on the counter. There'd be like bags of whatever she opened to cook, like breadcrumbs or something all over the place. And it just smelled disgusting. The trash is filled up to the brim and overflowing. I I come in and I'm like, what the fuck? You know, like let's call her Alexis. I'd be like, what the fuck, Alexis? Like, what? Why didn't you do all this stuff? You know. And at the time, like I said, I was pretty blue pill. I didn't say any of that. You know, I was like, Alexis, listen, you caused a mess in the kitchen. Do you mind cleaning it? You know, very very polite, very straightforward, kind of just asking. You know, and she'd say, oh, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. I'll do it later. Later never came. And then she went on a trip 2 days after, and she still hasn't cleaned it. And I refused to clean it behind her, right? So 2 days later, she still hasn't cleaned it, and she goes on a 4-day trip. Mind you, I stopped going to that apartment like for those days because I could not stand the smell. When the day she came back is the day I came back to that apartment. And when I opened the doors, the reeking of the apartment was
Ugh.
insane. I almost wanted to throw up. I go into the kitchen and I look at the chicken trimmings. There's maggots in there, AJ.
Oh man.
Maggots,
That's
exactly, like live
Damn.
maggots. I was so frustrated. I took a picture of it and sent it to her mother. And I said, look what your daughter's doing. I didn't care at that point. I was like, this is disgusting. This is beyond disgusting. And she'd come in and she'd be like, and she had the audacity to be like, hey, I'm coming in with my flight crew. Like, yeah, there's this first officer and this other flight attendant that I wanted you to meet, and we're gonna go out to DC and we're gonna get drinks. And it was like 4th of July or something. She's like, it's gonna be like a great day. And I'm like, okay. And at this time, it's funny because at this time she had just told me that like she had gotten, essentially there was like a grape charge that was going on with her back in February, um,
What?
where she was, yeah. So she told me that that happened, right?
Okay.
Um,
mm-hmm,
and she told me this in February, and that it happened in January of that same year, right?
mm-hmm.
Uh, and she told me this in, okay, so July 4th. So let's say like March area, right? So she told me that this happened in March or whatever. Or she told
That it
me
happened
that
to
it
her.
happened in January. Yeah, that it happened to her. And
Oh snap.
it's crazy because I was like, why didn't you tell me anything? And she said, I tried calling you. Maybe she did, but it had to be late. You know, she said, I was like, what time was it? She goes 3 a.m. I was like, well, I'm sorry, I didn't pick up the phone, but I was asleep. I had work the next day, you know? And I was like, did you, go to the police? Did you report it? Did you do anything? She goes, no. She goes, I just went home and I just took a shower. I'm like,
What?
okay. Yeah. And then after that, um, I recalled another time and I was like, wait, hold on. So what about after that date that you just told me? When I was on the phone with you when you were in that hotel room with your two flight crew friends or something like that, and I told you, isn't it time to sleep because it's like midnight? And you said, yeah, it is, in a very strange voice. She's like, yeah, he was in the room, and I was like, okay, hold on, wait. So you let him back in the room?
What?
You let him go back in your room to hang out? And she says, yeah, I don't know, I don't know, all of this stuff. And I'm like, so why would you continue to interact with this person, and he has her number? Why would you do that? And she said, I was scared. I said, okay,
Man.
listen, this is a lot, you know what I mean? And I didn't know whether to believe her or not. And it's crazy because even her mom's like, this does not add up. And at the time, you're very, when you're invested so much in a person like that and you don't have hard solid facts, it's you always give the benefit of the doubt, like you're
Yeah,
clouded, your mind is
Yeah.
clouded.
yeah.
You can't think as logically.
But
uh
you're also putting your problem solving skills in like an emotional situation. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Absolutely.
So you're trying to
Absolutely.
logic, and it's the person that you love and care about. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So that's brutal, man.
Yeah, man, it was a mess. And like, so I kind of backtracked right there, but so at the time when she left all that shit in the kitchen and it was stinking, and she said that she was going to bring her flight crew friends and all that, I was shocked. I was like, I was like, Alexis, listen, the apartment is a mess. I was like, I could not stay in the apartment for the past 4 days. I was like, there are maggots in the chicken. And she's like, can you clean it up? I said, no, absolutely not. I said, I cannot do that. I told you to clean it up for how many days and you wouldn't do anything, you know? And at the time she told me that she didn't want to be around me. She didn't want to be around anybody. She just wanted to be to herself and in her bedroom and all this stuff because she was dealing with this because her family had just found out about the grape, you know? Um, and I said, wow, okay. So you don't want me to be around me or anybody else, but you're over here inviting your friends over to stay in DC to go drinking and partying in DC on July 4th, et cetera, et cetera. You know, I felt like there's there was something fishy again. You know what I mean? Why would you do that? So I talked to her mother, and I like while she was driving up here, right? I talked to her mother, and I was like, listen, this is what's going on. I feel like something's weird. And she goes, and her mother says, Kane, you better go with her. And I said, you think so? She's like, I feel like you'll have a better peace of mind if you go with her and see what's going on, you know? And I said, damn, like I really didn't want to, but I was like, you know what? I probably should. So I went with her. Um, and we went out to DC. We got a couple like drinks and stuff like that with them. And her friends, man, like the first officer, first of all, he was a dude, right? So we took my car and he was in the front and she was in the back with her other female flight attendant friend. And the first officer was weird, man. He would make inappropriate jokes and shit, like to them. You know what I mean? Like,
What?
yeah. And I would look at him like, what the fuck, you know? And I look at her like through the back screen, and she's like she'd give me like a little wave, like don't worry about it, you know, kind of thing. I was like, okay, whatever. So I dismissed it. We go to DC, we get some shots, we get some drinks, and like throughout the entire time, her friends would like they would basically kind of like distance themselves from me and kind of like, and she would only interact with them. She would not like even give me like a conversation kind of thing.
So
And
you were kind of
I'm
an odd man out in the situation.
absolutely, absolutely, you know, and I'm thinking like, damn, like this is crazy because I've been here for her throughout all her emotional distress that she's been going through with all this stuff. And she does not give a single shit about me at all. Like she's not even interacting with me. She won't even look my way, kind of thing. And she started getting upset. She started texting me when we were on the metro saying, why aren't you interacting? Like you're making me look bad, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, what the fuck?
So were those
You know?
charges true?
She never, we never found out, you
Huh.
know?
Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. But like I said, I gave her the benefit of the doubt, man. And mind you, so we were walking up. This goes back kind of hand in hand with surrounding yourself with or women surrounding themselves with single friends. So I'm pretty sober, okay, at this point, right? It's like later in the night. We just saw the fireworks, whatever, in DC, and we're walking back to the car. Okay. So I'm pretty sober. Um, I'm walking up with them, and her friend and her are really like they had a little bit too much kind of
Oh,
thing.
they were
And
smashed
her
or whatever. Yeah.
yeah. So we were walking up the hill or whatever, and there are some cops like on the other side of the hill. And her friend is like, "Oh my God, Alexis, look at that cop. Isn't he so fucking hot?" And then like Alexis is like, "Where?" And she's actively looking, you know, and she's like, "Oh
Oh,
my God, yeah."
just being
And
disrespectful right in front
absolutely
of
right
you.
in front of me.
Damn.
Yeah, man. That's what I'm
Damn.
saying. And I was like, there's no fucking way. You know what I mean? Like,
So
I get
what?
you can look, like you can look and everything. You know what I mean? Like that's fine. It's
So
just
but
doing that in front of your partner and saying, wow, you know, like wow, he's so hot and stuff like that. That's just disrespectful in my opinion.
so so besides the actual disrespect, so what do you think's the actual moment where you were like, I need to get divorced?
That would be when she deployed. So she was in the Army Reserves and she deployed for a year, right? Uh and when she like before she deployed, um we were super close, man. Like we fixed all of our problems and we were on the right track. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
and everything was looking good again. And I was like, okay, hey, look, just be safe out there. Like, don't like you're not there to make friends and stuff like that. Obviously, just do your job. She didn't want to deploy, you know. I was like, just do your job and come back, and then you could pursue your dream because she also had like, the whole I want to go to school, start a business kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, cool, just go deploy, come back, get your that GI Bill, and you can go to school, and we'll be able to like get our place and everything like that. And I was planning like a structure for us when she came back, and we could kind of
Okay.
like
Mm-hmm.
move forward. Um, Throughout the entire time of her deployment, I could probably count on both hands how many times we've talked. Now,
Yikes.
well, yeah,
And that was a
exactly. And
year.
that was a year, man. And it's
Holy
like,
crap.
yeah, and I would text her every day. And I would get a text back maybe a week later or 2 weeks later.
Uh-oh.
And I understand it's not like a combat deployment, mind you. This is like a 9 to 5 kind of job, kind of deployment. Like she was in another country, but she was in Africa. There's no wars going on over there. You know what I mean? That we're involved in at least. Uh, and like when we would talk on the phone, it would be conversations that last maybe 5 minutes. And while we're doing that, I'm trying to FaceTime her so I can see her face. And she'd have the camera just pointed at the ceiling. And I'm asking her, hey, well, what are you doing? Like I would like to have a serious conversation. Let's just talk, like it's been a while. And she'd tell me whether it's, oh, I'm getting ready to go to my friend's room. We're having a movie night or something like that. Or, oh yeah, we're going out to the bar and doing this, and this. And I'm like, hold on, Ashley. So why don't we ever have time to talk? I'm like, you have all this time to spend with your friends. We don't ever talk. What's going on with that? She's like, okay, I'll talk to you tomorrow. That would be her quote right there. Okay, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Tomorrow never came. It might have been like next month,
Damn.
or a month after that. Exactly. And it's crazy because the people at work would be like, oh, how's your wife and everything like that. And I would just make some bullshit up because I actually don't know,
Damn.
you know.
That's
Exactly,
crazy.
man. And it's crazy, man. Like she went completely wild over there. She started tattooing herself and
Oh.
like, yeah, man, like things like that. And she would always be drinking and like, she'd
So she
be
was posting
work.
all this on social media.
Absolutely not. Like her friends would be posting this shit on social media. She
Oh,
might be posting it on Snapchat. I don't know. I don't have her on Snapchat, but she posts shit like that on her Instagram and everything too, which she blocked me from, which is hilarious.
damn.
Uh, yeah, man. Like she's completely wild. And when she came back, it was crazy. Like I thought we were okay, and she hit me up and she was like, "Listen, She was like, "We're not together. Why are you here?" Excuse me. She mentally divorced me in February,
Wait. Well, okay.
and
How old are you?
I'm 25, man.
And then how old is she?
She is 20. She is 25 now. No, she's 24 now.
Okay, because this uh Jada Pinkett Smith
Oh my
literally had
God.
literally had a quote that these women were digesting saying, "Don't don't let your husband keep you from realizing your dreams or living your best life." And I think
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and that's what this sounds like.
that's what
That
this sounds
bald
like.
headed,
Exactly what it is.
that bald
Oh
headed
shit!
broad bullshit. That's what
Absolutely.
I'm gonna
Oh my
call it.
God.
We are coining this term. Bald headed broad bullshit is what this is. This is this Jada Pinkett red table bald headed broad bullshit is what it's called. You heard it
Absolutely.
here first, gentlemen.
Absolutely. For all you listening, don't listen to that bullshit. Okay, that is not a happy life, happy relationship at all. And get this, guys. So, like I said, February, right? She mentally divorced me. Like she decided, like we had an argument in February. I was like, listen, you're not talking to me. You're not texting me back. We have no conversations that last more than 10 minutes. This is ridiculous. I literally make time for you. Like I'll step out of the fire station to talk to you if I'm not running calls, you know? And I'm always flexible with my time. I'll stay up until 11 p.m. to talk to you because of the time difference, and things of that nature. And she is not reciprocating any amount of trying.
And
Okay.
then
Like,
and then just
And
came home to just kick it
at least you
in the
nipped this at
nuts,
the
huh?
bud now, because I've met a lot
absolutely.
of first responders, like a lot of cops and firefighters and military personnel have the worst personal lives, and it's like you have a greater responsibility. You've taken up the mantle, of being in a position of being a firefighter, putting your life on the line, putting yourself. So you need to be like
On your
Mentally more.
game, yeah.
emotionally,
Exactly.
physically,
Absolutely.
mentally centered. You know what I'm saying? And I've met,
Absolutely.
especially cops. I met a lot of cops who are, you're like, your personal life is what now?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
Yup.
yeah,
what?
Yup.
yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how much of a toll it takes. Like when you're running calls and you're thinking about what's going on back home, and you start blanking out on the things you need to do on your job, and it's a lot of stress. And then you have stress at home. you have stress in your personal life, and you have stress at work. It's just constant level of stress.
So,
And believe me, like people cannot maintain that for a long time. You will break, you
so
know?
quick,
Yeah.
a question to kind of move on a little bit. I think Doug had already told us about his divorce process. Kane, how has your divorce process been so far?
So like I said, I thought we were still together, right? Until like this July, which is when she came back, and I drove 6 hours down to her mother's place because I knew she was gonna be there.
Mm-hmm.
And her mother was excited. She's like, "Are you excited to see Alexis?" I'm like, "Absolutely. It's been so long. Like we need and I haven't really talked to her much. And I'm excited, you know." And when she came back, she hit me with the, "What are you doing here? We're not together," you know, for the past 6 months. Yeah. So you can imagine the shock factor in that, and your wife telling you, "What are you doing? I don't want to see you. We haven't been together in 6 months." So at that point, I'm like, trying to digest this shit, man. I went through some dark shit, drank a lot and all this shit. I didn't know what the fuck to think, man. I let myself go and all this stuff. I like you said, like that masculine composure was completely gone. Um and I basically succumbed to all the grief and sadness. So I figured, okay, cool. Shoot, like after like a month, I was like, okay, cool. When do you want to do this? When do you want to sign the paperwork and all this stuff? And she said, okay, I'll get all the paperwork done. I'm busy with work. We could do it next month. I said, okay, cool. What day? So we coordinated days, right? Um, and she didn't want anything. She wanted just a clean split, no alimony, no nothing. We don't have kids. We don't have anything tied together. Like we don't have like any cars or anything tied together. Uh, so I was like, okay, cool. It's gonna be a clean split, whatever. You know, all right. Now, mind you, she she said like a month later, right? So like August, right? I'm thinking, okay, cool. August of 28th or something like that. I forgot what exact date was. She's gonna fly over. We're gonna sign the paperwork, send it to the court, and be done with.
Mm.
And then, as I'm driving to pick her up to sign the paperwork, she hits me with the, "Oh, I forgot. I actually scheduled like a hair appointment or something. I'm about to
What?
fly home." And I said, Where are your priorities? I'm like, "Do you not want to? You're the one that wants this divorce. Why are you not prioritizing this so you could move on?" And
Mm-hmm.
she's been doing that till this day, mind you. Okay, we were
So
supposed to meet up
she's
like a couple
dragging it
weeks ago.
out then, huh?
Absolutely, we were supposed
Damn.
to meet up a couple weeks ago, and she still was like, she didn't even respond to my text message. So I'm like, "Are you coming tomorrow?" Nothing. "Are you coming today?" Nothing. I'm like, "Okay, cool. I guess you're not coming." And it's at this point, it's ridiculous, man. And I don't want to get lawyers involved in this, but I think I might have to because it does not make sense. I'm
Yeah.
still together with
Wait,
her, and she's the one asking for the divorce.
the thing about it is, all you have to do is just have her sign. You could download the paperwork on the state website,
Absolutely,
and
absolutely.
then
And
just
I told her that too.
yeah. So what I would do is I get the paperwork, I sign your section, um, because my ex, I mailed them to her and she signed them,
Uh huh.
and then she mailed them back to me, and I filed them. So she was cool enough because that was the thing. She when I showed her that I had taken on all the debt,
Mm-hmm.
she signed them and then sent them back to me.
Mm.
So that was how she. People were like, "Oh yeah, you just took that on." She wouldn't sign the paperwork unless I showed her evidence that I was taking on the debt.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And
Yeah.
I guess not getting lawyers involved. You're better off trying to just pay off that debt than having the debt. I mean, paying lawyers and then having to do part of that debt anyways. You
yeah,
understand?
so
And court costs and court fees and all that
there's
bullshit.
no
Yeah.
way that
Absolutely.
she doesn't even want to see you at all.
Like she claims she does. She wants to basically move on and sign all the
So
paperwork, and she's
Apparently not.
claiming that. Yeah,
have you
absolutely not. Her actions are
have you
speaking louder
started
than
the
her
paperwork
words.
yet?
I know. I'm waiting
Yeah,
on her.
dude.
Listen, I want her to be a
Nah.
statistic. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
No,
no,
no, no.
no,
You should
no,
start the
no.
paperwork,
You
man.
need
You
to
should.
go to the state website right now. They have all the different. You can say, "How do I get divorced?" in whatever state you're in right now, and it'll give you all the paperwork you need. You print that out, you fill it out, you sign your portion, and say, "Look, I want to meet up with you, and you sign this."
That's the
man,
hardest part. We have the paperwork. She just does not want to show up and sign. And we need
do you
uh
have the paperwork?
what's it called? I haven't downloaded it myself, but I have it on I have it on my email. You know what I mean? Like I have it, I just
Yeah.
need to print it out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
download
print
it
it
and
out,
sign it.
sign
Yeah.
your section, make it so all you gotta do is move up, is meet up with her at Starbucks, dude.
But that's the hardest part. That's the hardest part, man. The
Can't you
meeting up.
send it to her
She's
mom's
in
house?
another. She does, yes, but her mom doesn't live. You know, she doesn't live with
Okay.
her mom right now. She lives in a different state. She lives in South Carolina right now. Her mom
Yeah.
lives in North Carolina.
Okay. Well,
Um,
there has to be a way. Well, either way,
I'm telling you, I have
in
to
a
like track
future
her. You know,
in a
like I have
future
to
episode,
stalk her basically.
do some research and figure this out because there's probably guys listening who are in the same position. But let's kind of move ahead a little bit. So, okay. The second to last question is pretty good in that we can segue there, and then we'll combine the other two. So, what would you tell your like unmarried young self? Like, what would you on this end of it now tell yourself before you got married? Like, if you could, like, go back in time and talk to yourself, what would you do? Like, what would you say?
I can only stay on for like another 5 minutes, so I'm gonna answer the last three questions. Would you get married again? Yes, of course. I would. I've seen the good parts. I've seen the bad parts. The key to the biggest difference between me getting married before and me getting married now. I talked about this earlier. You got to have conditions, man. You got to have conditions, and you got to maintain masculine frame. And I can do that now. And so, but I have a really good vetting process, and it would just take a lot. But yeah, I would get married again, sure. What would I tell my unmarried self back before I got married? There's no such thing as unconditional love. No such thing. And relationships are reciprocal. Like you have to make sure that you're getting out everything that you're putting in. And Kevin Samuels said the best. You can't fight out the world and move forward in life if you have her up on a pedestal and you're looking up at her the whole time. Because my marriage was a 5-year gap in my progress in life.
Damn.
I've made the greatest strides in my life alone. And I think I'm finally able to start making strides with a person. But it just that was my life up to that point. So when I divorced my ex-wife, it was just a 5-year gap in my life, and I had to spend from 2016 to about 2018 making up for lost time.
Damn.
So, and then is marriage worth it to modern men? If you can afford a divorce, go for it. But if you can't afford a divorce, it ain't worth it. And just in general, for the average man, I'd say no. I think that there needs to be a generation of men that just don't get married because that's what it's going to take for the laws to change. Women want marriage, not men. And if women stop getting what they want, they're going to force change. If you're alone making progress as a man, you win.
Damn.
And there's women give up so much in relationships, and marriage.
Bullshit.
Yeah, it's
no,
bullshit.
no,
Was it?
Men
Bullshit.
All broad bullshit. That's what it is.
we sacrifice our mental health. Yeah, we sacrifice our lives, our mental health, our body for friggin' other people. And I would say one of the best parts about feminism is feminism made it where women don't owe men anything. Women always say we don't owe men anything. We don't owe men our time. We don't owe men our bodies. We don't owe them anything. Okay, sure. But also feminism made it where men don't owe women anything either. We don't owe you our time. We don't owe you our commitment. We don't owe you anything. So and then men, we have a different schedule than women. We're just society was built on men accumulating, not women. And so to the average guy, if you're in the bottom 80%, marriage ain't worth it. No, the bachelor lifestyle, it used to be for the top 10%, where these playboys and bachelors and stuff like that. But hey, now, I say, if you're a 40% dude, 50% dude, if you're an average guy making what, $45,000 a year,
Yeah.
you can
Fuck it.
rent out a 1-bedroom apartment, have your PS5, hang out with your homeboys. $45,000 a year is enough for a couple of trips to Brazil each year. You know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
yeah,
That's that fast forward. Can you want to take a crack at the last three questions?
but
I know Doug has got a dip
yeah,
in.
I'm gonna jump off. Kane, it was good to meet you, AJ. Yeah, ever want to do a follow up on this subject? Let me know, and I'm always available. Okay.
All right, cool.
All right, Doug.
All right,
Nice
cool.
meeting you.
Take it easy.
But
Can you
yeah,
take a
absolutely. Let
crack
me
at the
take a
last
crack at
three?
these questions.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So, will I ever get married again? That's a hard choice. So, me personally, I I learn very well from experiences. And if my experience with my future significant other is anything of this nature, absolutely not. And it's crazy because nowadays it's always looked down upon for men to have standards. Where if a woman has standards, it's like, oh yes, queen, like yeah, absolutely, get what you need, get that bag, whatever, whatever. But when a guy says something, it's always a negative term, like,
Mhm.
oh, you should want me the way I am right now, or you should be able to support me for, like, whatever, whatever. So I mean, if I have standards myself, she has to, first of all, if she has if she surrounds herself with fucked up people, if she's always going out to clubs and partying and whatnot, if she's wearing certain things, all of these things will be a factor to me. And I don't care how, like, modern women consider that toxic or anything, but that is a factor for me, especially for marriage. Hell no. So I mean, there's maybe a 10% chance I might get married again. Um, and that kind of leads on to what would I tell my unmarried self? I would tell myself, don't slip. Don't let her be the center of your life. You are the center of your life. Okay. And always look to the future, not to try to please your spouse or your significant other in the short term.
Yeah.
And if she's
In the
not with you,
present?
she's not
Yeah.
gonna, absolutely. If she's not with you and trying to build with you for the future, and she just wants to have things her way and no compromise, fuck that. Let her go. It's not worth it. It's
Facts.
not worth your mental health. It's not worth going through a bunch of bullshit in your younger years where you should be striving to excel and working as hard as you possibly can while you have the energy. Um, and is marriage worth it to modern men? I would say absolutely not. You have to think of the risk to gain value, right?
Yeah.
Okay, if you're married, what do you gain exactly? Okay, you gain a spouse. That's about it. Like, well, as a man, what do you gain? Most of the time they won't have a better credit score than you. Uh, so I'm just statistically speaking, like they probably have tons of fucking debt. And like, if they work, they're not saving their money. They're not trying to pay off the debts. They're spending that shit on trips, on girls' trips or clothes or whatever's new in fashion, or whatever the case may be. They're not very future oriented.
Yep.
So
Facts.
yeah, there's that. Okay, so now you have to think of the other things. Okay, so like Doug said earlier, can you afford a divorce? Can you afford to pay lawyers? Think of the worst case scenarios, prepare for the worst case scenarios, and pray for the best. That's my mindset.
Mhm.
So, can I afford to hire a divorce lawyer? Can I afford to pay the court fees? Can I afford to take time off of work to handle all this stuff all the time? Can
Mhm.
I afford my mental status to possibly deteriorate slightly because of stress due to the financial issues? Can I afford to pay alimony for the rest of for however many years that the court says I need to? Because damn well she's not going to be paying alimony. Even if she does pay, even if she does make more, the court will not side with you. Okay,
Yep.
you're a man.
That's true.
You will never win in court against a woman. You will never win in court, and I don't care what any woman says. Okay, say, oh, the world is so masculine, everything's better for men. That's a damn lie. Okay, everybody loves women and children. Nobody gives a fuck about men unless you have something. Unless you are somebody, they don't give a fuck about you. You're
That's
just a
true.
number. Exactly. So I mean, modern day men, in terms of marriage, is always a loss. Now it's your job to decide whether that loss is worth it. You know, is that woman worth losing all this stuff? If yes, if you truly believe, you know, she's traditional, she will treat you correctly, with respect. Uh,
Uh-oh. I think your sound is breaking up just a little bit. So it might be on my end, but I guess we can kind of close it here. Um so yeah, thanks everyone, Kane. I appreciate your input. We'll have to do a follow-up here in the
and
next.
actually care for an average level? No.
Okay. Cool. So all right, everyone's we're gonna close this up. And I appreciate all my new subscribers. Everyone, please drop a like and a comment. This is AJ, and I am out of here.
See ya.